Hello, Steve. It's Steve RC9. Well, I saw a little article about Doctor Who I thought was interesting. I mean, I saw some videos about an article about Doctor Who that was interesting. Apparently, there's an article in the latest Doctor Who magazine, which is official, but also no longer being contributed to by Russell T Davies as of recently, because the showrunners usually do some sort of report or update, and because he's no longer a showrunner, because the show is sort of ended for the moment. It's unclear whether he sort of authorised this or was aware of this, but they were talking about Sutekh in this article, and saying basically that the version of Sutekh that we saw in the last Ncuti Gatwa era and episodes was an alternative universe version, which would mean that anyone that interacted with that, like the Ncuti Gatwa Doctor, would also be part of that alternative universe. And the idea was that at a certain episode, I think it was called Wild Blue Yonder, that Sutekh attached himself in some sort of way to the TARDIS and then held on for decades or something, and that Sutekh that they encountered is like a different universe Sutekh. So that's kind of interesting, but the multiverse is problematic. It allows freedom. You can change things, you can do a different version of things, fans can jump in at a new point with a new universe and they don't have to learn all the continuity of the old era or the history. So there's good things about it, but there's also bad things, because once you start doing that, it sort of devalues what you do. Because once upon a time you had one universe where one person, one character, one event counted. Now it's like, well, that doesn't matter, we can just go to another universe and we can have the character back that died or something, and it's a bit messy. Like I said, there's advantages to it and disadvantages to it, and there's issues like with Star Trek, for example. They decided to decanonize all the extended universe novels, all the novels that have been written since the 60s. They've said, oh, that's all a different universe. And I'm like, well, you know what? I think you can kind of just look at those novels in the original classic show as in the same universe, and this new show is in a different universe, because it is. But they don't acknowledge it, and it's like they think that somehow it devalues the show by saying it's an alternative universe and that the universe is a multiverse. But it is, and we know that. We've seen through things literally said and shown in the show that it is an alternative universe and an alternative timeline. So I think they should just embrace it, acknowledge it, and make the most out of it, and promote it as this is new. You don't need to watch the old shows, whatever. You can just watch this, and it's all new adventures, and it doesn't affect the old ones. The old ones stay intact, and you don't have the problem of fans being told, well, now this is different because we changed this in the past, and it changes the continuity that you were familiar with and the characters that you were familiar with. You don't get any of that anymore. A lot of us have realised that that's just the case, but other people are still clinging on to the idea that no, it's all the same universe, and somehow it makes sense, even though none of it does. Like, the more Strange New Worlds and that go on, the more things they change, the more things that don't make any sense and don't add up. But like I said, they already acknowledged it's a different universe at one point. They already acknowledged that it's a different timeline. So things aren't going to unravel the same, so it's okay. But I just wish they would acknowledge it officially, properly, and just say, yes, multiverse, the original shows are in a different universe from Discovery shows, from the JJ, because there's different timelines and different universes, and then different universes altogether. And I mean, they acknowledge the mirror universe as being real and official, but why can't they acknowledge the JJ verse or the Disco verse as being a different universe? It's like, Star Trek was always a multiverse. We'd seen examples of this, and it didn't affect how people valued it or saw it. Like, people didn't value the mirror universe and those episodes and stuff like that just because it was an alternative universe. So I don't know why they're so attached to it, and why they don't just let it go. Because the fans know, especially the older fans, because they've lived through it all real time and seen it happen. But the new fans are just acting like, no, our Star Trek is just as important as yours, and somehow it's like they want it both ways. They want it to be canon, but yet they want to say, but it's better than yours, and it basically rewrites yours, and it's better. Then it can't be the same. But I just want to talk about that for a minute. So some people are saying it's not really official. It's probably just some random person writing this, and Russell didn't approve it or whatever. But it would seem, and the argument and the assumption is that they're trying to decanonize the current Doctor Who because it wasn't as popular as the last iterations. And that's one way to do it, because you can always just jump into a different universe, start all over again and say, no, that happened. And things like The Timeless Child, or whatever the name of that episode is, I always get it confused with the first episode. Those events that people aren't happy with are a different universe and doesn't count. So that's one way for people to get around things they don't like. But yeah, it's sort of real because Doctor Who is a multiverse, and most of the franchises now, the superhero franchises, the Star Trek and sci-fi franchises, they are multiverses. They do have different universes. Star Wars hasn't quite done it, but there is talk of some mirror or something so that they have touched on it as well. So, but it's not something they're really actively engaging in. Although people would like to, because a lot of them don't like the latest era. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of multiverses and Doctor Who being a multiverse and alternative universes and what this means for, Sutekh and the current sort of Doctor.